What happens when a Harley Davidson dealership or any independent workshop, what happens when they damage your bike? Let's get into it.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So this video is all about you take your bike in for some work, a service, or for some mechanical work to an independent workshop or a dealership, and you know they damage the bike for whatever reason. They scratch it, they dent it, they in the process of doing a service or doing some mechanical work, they break something else. You get that back, they haven't told you about it. What are you gonna do? So obviously, occasionally this can happen, mistakes can happen, you know, accidents can happen. This is not about that. This is really about when they don't tell you about it. They try and hide the fact, or you suddenly discover it and you think, well, what am I going to do now? So you want to go in there all guns blazing and say, look, you've done this, you've done that. But this happened to me with an old car of mine. I took it into a place to have its annual inspection and also to have a service done as well. And when I came back, I noticed there was damage to a fuel filter as well. And then all of a sudden, I tried to go back and they said, well, it wasn't us, you know, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, I couldn't even argue with them because I had no proof. And that's the thing, it's having proof. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't need proof. I'm going to go in there and tell them what's what. I'm going to demand that they fix it and all that sort of stuff. Look, in an ideal scenario, in an ideal world, yes, that would be happening. Or you can raise the issue and say, look, hello, I think you've damaged my bike. And a good workshop or a good dealership would, yes, say, yeah, unfortunately it happened. You know, we're going to replace the part or we're going to fix it or do whatever. Or let's say they've done work to your bike and it just doesn't run right afterwards, or you know something else breaks as a result of their work, and they'll say, yeah, we'll come and fix it, whatever. So this can happen, and yes, sometimes you know you'll have a gentleman's conversation, let's say, and everything is resolved, right? But sometimes it doesn't. So this is something that I heard about a while ago, and I thought this is quite an interesting way to go about it. So before you take your bike into a service center or to a dealership or anything like that, any kind of independent workshop, you go around your bike and you video it close up. You video all the components. You make sure that everything is as it should be. You note all the damage and you note all the clean parts, let's say. You see everything is documented. Before you hand over the bike, you have the owner or the workshop owner or the mechanic come around the bike as well and note everything that's on that bike so that you're both on the same page. Now, this might put off a few people, and some people might think, well, I'm not going to do that. That just seems like a waste of time. Or it might put off somebody working on your bike as well. However, this is kind of common practice when you go to hire a car or you know, do any other kind of work as well, or you know, you take a vehicle, you know, off somebody else's hands. You always note what is on that vehicle or what damage is on there, pre-existing damage, let's say, and when the vehicle is returned, you know, what has happened as well. This is a great way for you to know what condition your bike was in before it went in there. And so that you both have already had the conversation, they know where you stand, that if any damage is going to happen, whether it was intentional, which it wouldn't be, of course, but whether it's intentional or whether it was just accidental, which is most likely what's going to happen, right? Or through some kind of negligence, whatever you want to call it. But at least they know that if something happens to that bike, then they will be asked to fix it, and fix it pretty darn quick. Now, this raises another issue where somebody emailed me and said, look, I'm not sure what I can do about this because the people I'm dealing with are a bit unsavory, let's put it that way. Now, this is a really difficult one to answer because you're dealing with people who, let's say, will try and get out of something or will not be acting in a proper way, a proper legitimate way. Now, you've got to ask yourself, okay, if you're going to try and take your bike to somebody who's unsavory or may have got a bad reputation, let's say, or you just might be taking it somewhere because you're just going to save a couple of £100, dollars, shekels, or whatever it is, then you got to be asking yourself, okay, well, if I'm going to take it to somebody like that, let me do a bit of background research on them. Let me see what other people think about them first of all. And if it still happens, then all I can say is, well, you've got the option to take it to the authorities, of course. You don't have to get involved in any kind of, you know, fisticuffs with these people, let's say. It doesn't have to become physical or anything like that. You know, you may want it to, you may be very angry, but you've got to go via the appropriate route, let's say, you know, via a solicitor, via the police. But again, you're going to have to look at proof as well. Now, sometimes, even with, let's say, unsavory characters, just the mere mention of going to the police or going to you know, a solicitor or something like that, taking the legal route, yeah, they might front up, but they might say, yeah, go ahead, you do it, I'll see you in court and all that sort of stuff. You may not be able to get your money back, you may not be able to have this rectified, but it is about selecting the right people to work on your bike. It is about taking it to bona fide places. It is about having everything on your bike documented before you take it in. You've got video evidence, photo evidence. You know exactly what the condition of that bike is. You have a clear understanding. You've had a clear conversation with the people who you're going to work on your bike, whether it's a dealership, whether it's an independent workshop, and you know and they know the state of play, as it were. And I think that's possibly the best way to go about it. There's always some kind of discussion to be had. There's always some kind of, you know, some kind of way of being able to negotiate that they fix the problem, or that they, you know, that they mend your bike, or, you know, repair the damage and everything like that. But of course, you may have a bit of a fight on your hands, you know, from a legal sense, and also from, you know, getting the authorities involved as well. It really depends who you're dealing with, and, you know, what their attitude is to this as well. If they're upfront and honest and bona fide, yes, they will hold their hands up. They may not like it, but they'll hold their hands up. But if they're not, then, you know, again, you might struggle as well. It's an odd one, and sometimes I hear about these stories all the time, or people send me emails about these situations as well. And I'll say, well, have you tried, you know, going to a lawyer? Have you tried going to the police? Have you, you know, tried to negotiate with these people a little bit more? All this kind of stuff. As I say, it comes down to who you're dealing with in the first place. Go by reputation, get references, you know, all the things that you probably wouldn't normally associate with taking your bike to have some work done on it. Maybe that's what you should do as well. And sometimes you hear about these horror stories, and they are very, very few in number, you know, in the grand scheme of things. So few and far between, I would say. But even so, you know, you got to take that information and say, well, let's hope it doesn't happen to me. How can I take steps to hopefully ensure that it doesn't happen to me? Anyway, I hope you found that useful. Let us know your thoughts on this in the comments below. But don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell, like and share, and check out the website RevelatorAlf.com. And I'll catch you again. Ta-da.